a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! Which is based on a blog of the same name, because it's no homespun moniker like Frank Castle, but we think it strikes fear in the hearts of our enemies, maybe. Wait, do we have enemies? Hey look, the joke is back! I promise not to punish you too much with these attempts at humor. My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays, and as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the panelists and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are published once per week. Subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and via Google Play to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows around the water cooler, including, but not limited to, How to Get Away with Murder, Sherlock, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., New Girl, A Series of Unfortunate Events, The Vampire Diaries, The Originals, Orange is the New Black, The X-Files, Supernatural, Gotham, and the DC Television Universe, or Arrowverse on the CW. Plus, new episodes are in the works, including revisits for The 100, Doctor Who, Game of Thrones, Stranger Things, American Horror Story, and Fuller House, a final visit with our Broadchurch panel to say goodbye to the mystery drama from across the pond. I promise you it's coming. We'll be launching new panels covering Sense8, Grace and Frankie, The Good Place, and iZombie. And because we look back at shows now past, we'll be looking back at one of our most popularly requested panels of all time, which is Friends, as well as a one-and-gone series called Battle Creek. Furthermore, you may have heard that CPU recently underwent some severe technical difficulties requiring the replacement of failed equipment, which means that several episodes, some I previously listed and others, like today's episode, will be published very soon. Well, they'll have to be re-recorded first, and then they'll be processed, and then they'll be published. There's a whole thing. Therefore, there will be a small delay in our usual publication schedule, but be patient with us. Everything will be published as planned. Keep a weathered eye to the website and our social media to keep track of which episodes we are releasing next. By the way, did you know that CPU also, from time to time, goes live? We've been live from the Bunker, Comedy Outlet Mondays at Dog Story Theater and Grand Rapids Comic Con. And we're planning more live appearances and other cool stuff, so make sure you like us or follow us at our Facebook page, our Twitter at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, and or our Pinterest at CPU Podcast, or subscribe to the blog, our YouTube channel, our iTunes channel, our Stitcher Radio channel, or find us on Google Play. In the meantime, if you don't hear a show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews, and we're always seeking new panelists. So if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any of those outlets I've mentioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback. Just don't punish us like Frank Castle would. Keep your guns and your worst words holstered. It's just messy otherwise. Today, we're Around the Water Cooler is a continuation of our Marvel's Defenders podcast series. The series does not have a fixed number of episodes like other series we do. Rather, it's ongoing, given the fact that streaming service Netflix created various series with the aim of combining all of the protagonists into a crossover miniseries called The Defenders. With that said, welcome to the 7th episode of our Marvel's Defenders panel, in which we discuss the first spin-off of the various Marvel's Defenders properties, namely The Punisher. In this series, we've already discussed seasons 1 and 2 of Daredevil, and the first seasons of Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and The Defenders. Today, we are discussing season 1 of The Punisher, which was released in its entirety to the Netflix streaming library on November 17, 2017, with a total of 13 episodes, which means, for the record, that the show is legally available to Netflix subscribers exclusively, as it is Netflix-produced original content. Created for Netflix by Steve Lightfoot, Marvel's The Punisher, or simply The Punisher, is an American web television series based on the Marvel Comics character of the same name. It is set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, sharing continuity with the films and other television series of the franchise, and is a spin-off of Marvel's Daredevil. The series is produced by Marvel Television in association with ABC Studios and Bohemian Risk Productions. In June 2015, John Bernthal was cast as the character to appear in the second season of Daredevil. Development on a spin-off titled The Punisher began by January 2016, before the second season of Daredevil was released. In April 2016, Marvel and Netflix ordered the series, confirmed Bernthal's involvement, and announced Lightfoot as executive producer and showrunner. All episodes of the first season were released on November 17. A month later, the series was renewed for a second season. The series itself revolves around Frank Castle, who uses lethal methods to fight crime as the vigilante The Punisher, with Jon Bernthal reprising the role from Daredevil. Frank Castle is known throughout New York City as The Punisher after exacting revenge on those responsible for the death of his family. In this spin-off series, he uncovers a larger conspiracy beyond what was done to him and his family. Ben Barnes, Amber Rose Riva, Jason R. Moore, Eben Moss Bachrach, Daniel Weber, Paul Schultz, Michael Nathanson, Jamie Ray Newman, and Deborah Ann Woll also star. Today, in the 7th episode of our Marvel's Defenders series, we will be focusing specifically upon The Punisher Season 1 with our Defenders panel, all of whom should be familiar to anyone who's listened to previous chapters in this series, namely Kristen, Nick, Kyle, Hilary, and Spencer. Because I think we're raring and ready to punish the Punisher, I guess, I want to remind listeners that all of our panelists have viewed all seasons of all Defender solo series and the crossover to date and may discuss sensitive plot points from any or all of them. So for those of you who haven't watched The Punisher or any of the Defenders properties to date, listen at your own risk as there are going to be major spoilers. Welcome back, panel. How are you?
Yeah. I'm having deja vu.
Are you? Why, Spencer?
I just feel like I've been here before.
Well, he's right. We have. So, as I indicated in the introduction, this is one of our lost episodes. Look, we found it.
Absolutely. We're going to kick its
we'll
backside.
see. We found it, or are we just going to try to recreate it?
I mean, Kristen, you don't have to tell them everything.
Lightning in a bottle.
Yes.
We can do it twice.
Let's just
I
know what it
know
is. We can.
We can make different lightning. Let's think positively. So this is what we're going to do. We are talking about The Punisher for the second time. I think it'll still be spicy because this is the room we have.
It's the room where it happens. You're welcome to the Hamilton reference.
Yes. But because we are re-recording, I'm going to have to ask them a lot of questions they've already heard before, so it's on them. This is what you got to do, panel. Remind the listener of who you are by your first name. Tell them how you came to watch The Punisher, what made you start watching, how'd you find out about it, what kept you watching. Just answer it. And then how would you rate your interest in the show? I looked at my sister and
Hilary looks like she just took a backhanded slap.
I'm surprised she didn't look at one of y'all. She turns and looks at me.
All right, I'll look at you. What did I do? Anyway,
right.
I got to get to the question. So just answer the question, and then you have to answer, of course, the standard CPU character question, which changes with each show we do. And this is that little wrap for The Punisher. Are you ready? Yes, you are. How would you rate your interest in
We don't have a choice, people.
No, you don't. Do you love it and the way that the show and the main character are in your blood? You loved the violence. You loved the revenge fantasy. You loved the underlying messages. They're all a part of what make you, you, even when that truth can be scary. The show wasn't always pretty, but you believe in everything for which the show and its main anti-hero stands, like Frank Castle, a.k.a. The Punisher. Do you love the show more than you want to love it and feel the same about the Punisher character? You secretly agree with him and some of his actions, even as you find yourself shocked by his methods. You're also hoping for a little romance, seemingly, like Karen Page. Though you found yourself squeamish by the dark themes and brutal violence propagated by the main character, you watched the show and ultimately grew to like it, even care about it, because it was a means to an end, and or you watched it because your family watches it, like David Lieberman, aka Micro. Did you watch the show because you find Frank Castle, at least as played by Jon Bernthal, complicatedly attractive, and or because the show helped you to understand certain facts about your life, even if you are not sure how you feel about the show in the end, like Sarah Lieberman? Did you watch the show because your friends watched it, but there are parts of it you liked and could get behind, and parts of it you wish you could change, like Curtis Hoyle? Do you like the main character because you relate to him in more ways than one, but you don't agree with his methods and you don't love the show? You only watched it because of your history with the main character and or as a means to a profitable end, like Billy Russo? Did you find the show complicated and morally ambiguous? Though you agreed with some of the underlying messages and motivations of the Punisher, you also were appalled by the lawlessness surrounding him, and or you watched it to find out certain truths for your own edification, sense of justice, and peace of mind. like Agent Dina Madani? Did you watch it because your work colleagues watched it, but really much of it was too shocking for you to stomach, so you stopped watching it, or you stopped watching because, spoiler, you died, like Sam Stein?
What?
I know. I said spoiler. Did you watch it because you worship the main character and love his comic book sources? Or maybe you even like prior live-action versions of him, but you thought this show was not good and or was just another product of a corrupt system aiming to dupe the general public like Lewis Wilson? Or do you hate this show and the main character because it threatens to expose the truth about you, whatever that truth may be, like William Rollins, aka Agent Orange? Who would like to start?
Did you add more?
No, it's the same list.
Okay. I'm Kristen.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi. So I'm actually going to change my opinion from the lost recording.
They don't know that.
Okay, but I'm telling you anyway.
Okay.
I think this has changed. It's been a while. I don't remember. I'm going to be Curtis. I watch the show because my friends watch it.
I actually wrote that one initially with you in mind.
Oh, funny. Yeah. I think last time I picked Sarah because Frank Castle, aka John Bernthal, is very attractive in a complicated way. But now that I'm a little more removed from it, I'm a Curtis. I'm gonna stick with Curtis. Just one.
Oh.
Just Curtis.
I ain't doing just one.
Okay. Well, welcome back, Kristen.
Thank you. Now for Hilary's disclaimer.
Hey, Kristen. Okay, Hilary here. Hey, Hilary here, and my husband will talk. His name's Kyle, and the moderator is my sister. Her name's Kylie, and they'll do their biz in a second. But
business
shortest ever.
Hashtag.
It's actually been getting shorter, but you haven't been around for a couple of them. The Gotham one was pretty short.
That's true. She has become word economy
Legit.
with a disclaimer.
However, not with the characters.
Technically, this all counts as a disclaimer, so not really.
It still does. This is still the disclaimer.
No, they've extended the abbreviated disclaimer.
Yeah.
I've already forgot what it was. Repeat it.
No, Hillary.
Listen to the podcast, Nick.
Move on.
So I'm going to say that I'm Curtis too, because I was always going to watch it because of Kyle, because he's obsessed with Punisher along with Daredevil.
Well, that gives you my answer.
Okay. And
No, false.
so I was always going, and also because of course I've watched the other Netflix Defender shows that are related.
True.
Yes, but and I do mostly love most of the parts of it, but there's like one major part / character that I wish that I could change, and we'll get into that. And I'm gonna say Kieran because I also secretly agree with him and some of his actions, even when I do find them shocking. But at the same time, like, I'm like Frank because I believe in the show and I believe of some of the things he stands for. I think he's got valid reasons, and some of that revenge stuff is pretty satisfying. I think I said that the last time a lot.
It was satisfying.
It was.
They don't know that you said it the last time.
But it's fun to say that we
You
said it the last
already
time.
said we could talk about it, Kylie. Stop jumping on us.
We're not making it a secret that this one got destroyed in
Feeling
a
personally
technological error.
I blame Micro.
And I'm going to also say he's complicatedly attractive, because he pretty much is.
So you're Sarah as well.
Yeah, there's just too many things to pick from for me. Sorry!
So you're Karen, Curtis, and Sarah.
And
Is
a little
that-
bit of Frank.
So you're the first four, except
Sure.
for Micro.
Yes.
Okay.
Woohoo!
Welcome back, Hilary.
Hey.
My sister.
Nick here.
Hi, Nick.
I'm not related to any of these people.
Even though he wishes he was.
You practically are.
This is like a family.
I started watching the show.
He's like, I have not shared DNA with anyone in this room, okay?
Well, I never said why I started watching it, but you guys all know why. Sorry, thanks for the reminder, Nick. Sorry for the interruption.
Well, you kind of said
sorry,
because
no,
your
sorry.
friends were watching
Yeah, that's
it.
true. Sorry, Nick. Go, please continue.
I'm moderating. Go, Nick.
I really didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
I started watching the show because I was pretty deep into the Defender shows, and I enjoyed most of them a lot. So I kept going.
Most of them a lot. Best answer.
Listen to prior podcast episodes for details.
Like Jessica
All of
Jones.
Yeah, that's one I liked a lot. What kept you watching? Because it was good.
Yep, you said that.
I think I'm Frank Castle for this because
You sound really sure.
I really like the show, so yes.
But there's parts of other characters it could be too, isn't there?
No, I mean...
He doesn't like to pick more than one. He
The
judges
main character
others.
isn't in my blood.
I don't care if he does.
The main character is in your blood.
It's not, which is part of your description.
You know, you could just go with it once, Nick.
I want to be truthful. Frank Castle. Done.
Okay. Welcome back, Nick.
Thanks.
Yes.
All right, hi, I'm Spencer.
Hi, Spencer.
I am Frank Castle. The show is amazing, and I love the darkness.
Because
Just
he's
sounds
a
like a
black
doc.
soul.
I do have a black soul.
How did you
secretly
find
black
the
soul.
Punisher?
I found it because I'd watched The Defenders, and it became, well, all of them, Jessica Jones and, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, The Defenders, Daredevil, all of them. They've been very, very good to this point, and I like a character that has a moral compass, but it's become ambiguous in the way that it comes out. And the Punisher is definitely that. So there's so much darkness, but it's focused for the right reason in my book.
All right. Welcome back, Spencer.
Thank you.
And I'm Kyle.
Hi, Kyle.
And
Hillary's husband.
yes,
Kylie's
moderator.
brother-in-law.
That's
Yep.
true, by extension.
obviously I love comic books and I love the Daredevil universe since I was a kid. So Punisher's always been one of my favorites just because he's been so closely tied to that grouping. So I was going to watch it no matter what. And then obviously how great the other Netflix shows are just kind of makes it absolutely must watch. And based on those descriptions, I'd say I'm Frank Castle also. I love the character, I love the show, the violence, all of it.
And he's not a violent person.
Especially the violence.
I know. That's what it sounded like.
It's a release.
But yeah, it's
Oh, man,
out
I
of the
could've-
Defenders shows, other than Daredevil, it's my favorite. It's really well done all around.
Welcome back, Kyle. And of course, I'm Kylie, as I and others have mentioned. And if I was to put myself on the scale, if I remember what I said last time, I think I fall somewhere in the void between Karen Page, who loves it more than I want to love it, and a Micro, because I did find myself squeamish by the dark themes and brutal violence, but ultimately grew to like it, even care about it, because there's a means to an end, the podcast, and or because my family, Hilary and Kyle, watches it. So I wrote that one with me in mind. That's why I watched it. That's where I am, the Punisher. Great. So now we've rated ourselves along with the standard CPU character scale. Now we get to do the star business, as Hilary calls it, where we rate the show because this is the first time technically for public consumption that we are talking about the Punisher. So this is how this works. We're going to go around the table and rate it some stars, which go like this. How would you rate it overall? Is it 5 stars? You have to watch everything. Holy smokes, it's the greatest anything ever that is a Punisher. Do you love it? 5 stars. Is it 4 stars? It certainly seems intriguing. You're going to keep watching, but you see possible pitfalls in the premise going forward. Is it 3 stars? You'll give it one more try come season 2. There are things you like and things you don't. You're going to see which things are allowed to flourish. Is it 2 stars? You only watched part of season 1. Chances are you're mainly bored, but there's some intrigue or fascination that could hold it together no matter how unlikely. But you may not be able to convince yourself to keep watching just yet. Or is it 1 star? Pass on this one, guys. It's a snoozer. It's not good. It's not interesting. It's not violent enough. It's not anything that you ever thought you would expect from the Punisher. It's not your cup of tea, in other words. There are too many options, including the other series about the Defenders, to waste time on the Punisher. 1 star. Who would like to start?
4.66 recurring.
You would.
3 stars.
Well, here's the thing. It's not quite 5 stars. It's not the be-all and end-all of everything, but I don't really see any pitfalls. So I'm kind of halfway between, or a little bit more than halfway between 4 and 5.
6.66.
Wow.
Recurring.
4 2/3.
4 and
Okay.
2/3 for the mathematically challenged.
3 stars.
Who said that?
I did. Kristen did. 3 stars.
Man.
Why 3 stars?
It's not Jessica Jones.
No, it's better.
No, it's
Oh.
not.
I'm sorry, but Jessica Jones is all, well.
It's my thing. So 3 stars. It was good, but
There are parts you liked and parts you didn't.
yeah, I would rate it right in the middle of the Marvel shows that have come out on Netflix so far. So about 3.
I'd rate it somewhere close to Spencer's.
So 4.66 recurring.
4.66 recurring.
Oh my gosh, are you gonna let
But
him
here's
into
why.
that?
Here's
I
why.
just said 4.6.
Because everything with Frank and Micro's family is perfect. No complaints whatsoever. But everything with Madani is slow, and I didn't connect to that character.
She's in it a lot.
Yeah, so
Boo.
90% of the show is just absolutely must watch, and then the early stuff with Madani is just a slog.
So I'm going to bandwagon off of his because I'm going to say 4.5, and mostly because in the beginning, because of the build, it's a little bit slower, but it is that big crescendo that I'm sure we'll talk about, and also because I find Madani to be oftentimes quite a distraction from all the great things that are happening. But otherwise, overall, I think it's an excellent show, and John Bernthal did another amazing job.
This is tough. I
Don't
was
say 3.
I was gonna say 4.5, but
Say 4.51.
Spencer,
Why are you?
I actually didn't mind the Madani stuff as much as everyone else, so I feel like I don't know, 4.5. I'm gonna stick with 4.5.
Because
Because I really liked it, but I think I enjoyed the Daredevil and Jessica Jones shows still a little bit more, but I thought this was really good.
Those are definitely the 3 best in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And it's been a while since I've watched Daredevil and Jessica Jones, so maybe if I rewatch it, I might like this one more. But I just remember those are the first ones and really getting into the whole universe. I need to rewatch them all. Can I do that right now?
no. But thanks for asking.
Binge watching extreme.
Yes. I would rate The Punisher 4 stars. I think it's very good. I think the Madani storyline that Hilary pointed to is a bigger flaw than maybe others are attributing to it. I agree with all of Hilary's remarks on that subject. I thought that she was a needless distraction, a plot device, something that really took away from the interactions that I wanted to see, which were between Frank and Micro largely, or Frank and Micro's family, or Frank and even Karen. I mean,
Just like Frank and not
Frank
her.
and everybody else, and not Madani. I struggled with the actress. I struggled with the character. I did not connect to her. I thought her hair was a little weird. Sorry, man.
Wow.
That went
Wow.
real petty.
That almost got racist.
That's not the only reason. That's just a reason. I think if they bring her back into season 2, that could be a problem because she doesn't really gel with the rest of the ensemble. It was a slower show, but as was pointed out, it builds to a crescendo. The ending is highly impactful and very wowing. And those things, I think, if they capitalize on them into season 2, and this was given an early renewal within its first month of release, I think the show will be great in season 2. But yeah, some of the side characters, particularly Madani, were too much of a detraction for me. So that's why I would be at 4. So, now let's talk about The Punisher. Granted, we did this before, but you have talking points.
Stop!
We've
You
done this
keep bringing it
before.
up. What's the
Why do you
deal?
keep bringing it up?
Yeah, you
Chris.
don't have to tell them.
Fritz. Anyway, so we're going to talk about The Punisher. What did you like? What didn't you like? Did you like the show right away? Did you not like the show right away? Tell me how you feel about Netflix's The Punisher.
What I love about this character is it kind of, and I'm probably I am probably the oldest member of this group.
Yep.
So I remember watching all of the old Charles Bronson Death Wish type films, and this character has that same feeling. It's somebody who is terribly wronged, out for revenge because he knows it's the only way that score is going to be settled. And sometimes I feel like that's needed. And this character, I don't want to say I can relate to it because I'm not really a violent person, but I can see his motivation, and it's good storytelling.
I didn't like it right away. I actually had to stop and restart a couple of times because I did lose interest. So I think I watched the first episode 3 times, and then finally the third time I finally was interested enough where I could continue going on. Yeah, I hope season 2's better for me. It was just a little slow. It didn't maintain my interest the whole time. I found myself drifting and doing other things.
I'd agree that happened in the first 2 or 3 episodes, but
Yeah.
For
after
me,
that
it
it
was
picked
kinda
up
like,
pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
the stuff with Micro kind of held my interest a little bit more, but like you said, the Agent Madani,
Which
Madani,
those
thank
first
you.
episodes are very heavy on
They're
that.
very heavy on her, and I think that's why my interest was
Yeah.
so hard. And if they don't get my interest in the first couple of episodes, it's kind of hard to maintain it the rest of the way through.
I didn't have that problem. It obviously does build up, so it's slower than the later episodes, but I didn't mind it. I felt like we were kind of getting into the Punisher's own show when they were setting things up a little bit. I mean, they were showing us stuff we kind of already knew because he was on Daredevil, just how he ramps up to, on the construction site, all the people that he punishes there. But I guess they were maybe planning for people who didn't watch
I think that's the case.
Daredevil.
I think it was done in that way so that people that didn't watch the rest of it could get his background.
And then it didn't bother me too much.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that it kicked off with him full-on Punisher, and then it gave you the quieter scenes of showing how, without his mission, he's just broken. He can't really do anything. Like all the scenes at the construction yard. He can't socially interact. He can't just deal with humans in his life. He's just laser focused.
And
Yeah,
they
he's
really
made
showed
that
that.
way.
I think the only time we see him laser focused is when he's punishing in the Daredevil show.
I
but
would
not in
disagree.
the first episode. You see him just focused on.
I think he's laser
hitting the
focused
wall.
all the time. The
Yeah, I
fact
think
that
he
he
is
doesn't
too.
rip people's heads off until he's
He
given
just-
a full-on
Yeah.
reason to do so.
I was going to
kind
say,
of
sometimes
shows
you
his
can tell
focus.
he's choosing when to do it. It's not
Yeah.
always an instantaneous
Because those guys
thing.
at the construction site
He
were
gave them an
jerks, but he would
opportunity.
leave them be until they proved
That's
that
what he said.
they...
He gave
But-
them an opportunity to back off, and that's the thing. They
And he
just
does-
didn't.
Yeah. And it's always what's going on around him. He doesn't care about what's happening to him anymore because he kind of considers his life over already.
Right.
He's just waiting to
He's
die
been,
and be
he's
with
been
his
made
family.
that way. Yeah.
He's not going to punish you for being an asshole. He's going to punish you for doing something that deserves punishment. And
It's
that's
more
how-
than just being a jerk.
And that's where his
Yeah.
focus is. It's, okay, you're not a nice person, but I can just deal with ignoring you. But when you finally do something like the construction worker guys did, then I'm really going to show you what's what.
I'm gonna say I agree. Like the first couple episodes, like I said, they maybe were a little bit slower, but that's just part of development. And just because a show doesn't immediately start off with that wow doesn't mean that it's not any richer, depending on what's happening. And maybe it just helps because I watch it with Kyle because he's such a big fan of these characters. He kind of feels that maybe that would help Kristen. I don't know. I think that might have also affected your Daredevil experience originally. But yeah, he provides so much of that passion when he's watching it that also kind of helps uplift it a little bit. But even still, I don't think that, I just knew it was developing for all the same reasons that have kind of already been mentioned. So for me, it was okay.
It is slow to start, but I agree with that comment. I think the difference between the Punisher and, say, Luke Cage is that Luke Cage started off slow and flatlined and never really picked
Just
up.
kind of,
Right. Whereas the Punisher really was a slow build. It was like a glowing ember that gradually gained more and more heat and flame and became something very, very... I was wowed by the ending, even though it was extremely...
It started as an ember and became a furnace.
Exactly, pretty much. I mean, thank you for putting the bookend on that metaphor. I mean, but that's true. All of it paid off.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
Madani's barely relevant plot still paid off.
Well,
in the end.
Well, it's
And
kind of
each episode of Punisher at least ended on a high note. Even if most of the episode was slow, there's a lot of Luke Cage episodes where it's just slow from beginning to end, and you're wondering, like, okay, where was this going? But at least with the
Well,
Punisher, by the
yeah.
end of the episode, you had an idea of it's going to the next level each episode.
And I think part of the difference there is there was a way to invest in these characters more than there were in Luke Cage.
I don't know, because I have a lot of friends that really love Luke Cage, and like I said, I've said this 100 times, I love Mike Coulter and everything, but to me, Luke Cage is more of a generic story that
Well,
I've seen before.
And that's just it. I think it's the difference in the writing teams on the two shows. Because the writing team really... I think the writing team on Luke Cage were going for an aesthetic as opposed to a story that had more of a linear flow, whereas the Punisher definitely has a very linear flow.
Well, there was just so much grit to the Punisher that there was none of that to Luke Cage. Luke Cage was a beautiful visual story,
Yeah,
but the
it was
storyline
beautiful.
was flat
Yeah.
and kind of baseline, whereas this had so much grit to it that it
Comes at
I
you
felt-
like a freight train.
yeah, I
Yeah.
felt far more invested in these characters.
And I really liked the character of Micro. I really liked the man who played Micro. I really liked how his story, which is kind of complicated because he is NSA who's he fakes his own death to hide from these conspirators, and Frank is just really a pawn in the conspirators' larger play as part of a special forces unit for the Marines that are over in Afghanistan making contract kills, basically. There's a lot of interweaving in those characters that you're discovering along with them. they're
Yeah.
discovering it and you're discovering it, and that makes it more engaging. Whereas there wasn't a lot to discover with Luke.
Well, another part of it as well is that this felt more real. This felt more like it could really happen.
Yeah.
Whereas with Luke Cage, he's got the superpowers, whereas Punisher doesn't. He's just one really pissed off dude
With guns.
with guns.
He's very
Yeah.
skilled, though.
Yeah, one very skilled pissed off dude.
Yeah.
It almost seems like he can't be killed by the end of this season with the number of bullets and
He does.
he takes
He takes
quite the
a
beating.
lot of stuff, and he
Yeah.
still keeps on ticking.
And that's what I liked about it. That's part of
But
what I liked about it.
That's who he is, though.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you're-
That's,
He
how,
could
that's
be
the character.
hurt.
He's a tank. He doesn't care.
He's a
he
tank.
will go
It's
until
like that
he's dead.
adrenaline. And plus he's already experienced so many things. It's almost like he continues to build up a tolerance to all these things that's happened to him.
Still, I just wonder how he's replacing all the lost blood. That's all.
I don't know.
Yeah, Hillary.
Maybe that's
I'm
his
not a
superpower.
doctor.
He gets
Question mark?
blood back quickly.
Yeah, maybe he just generates it really fast. I don't.
Well, I
I
mean-
don't know.
I also think part of that too is his nerves are deadened from the gunshot to his head,
Oh.
so he
He
doesn't.
doesn't feel pain as much.
Yeah, he doesn't
His
feel.
pain
Yeah,
receptors are
he
reduced.
doesn't feel pain as much. Plus, he's always amped up on adrenaline, which they
That's what I'm
mentioned
saying,
in
like,
Daredevil.
he's-
I always
Constantly.
forget he was shot in the head.
Yeah,
I didn't know he was shot in the head.
It's in
They-
the Daredevil.
it's in
That's-
when Karen Page is looking at his history and she pulls out his chart. He got shot in the head when his family was killed.
Missed that. Okay. Yeah.
Probably.
And then they tried to
Yeah.
pull the plug. The government pulled the plug on him, and instead of dying, he instantly woke up.
Huh.
And they also
Okay.
said that he, because of the injury happening at a heightened adrenaline state, he's kind of still living in
Yeah,
that
he's like
moment
stuck
every day.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah, they did
explains the
talk about
rage
that in
and-
this season.
So he might be a little stronger than the average person because
Well, yeah, I mean, he's constantly visualizing. They show that in the show. That
He's Bruce
const-
Banner without the gamma rays.
Yeah.
A little.
He's permanently angry.
And not so much green.
Yeah, well, without the gamma rays.
Right. Okay. You were saying, Hillary,
Dude, I forgot after that one.
they keep showing in the show.
Well, yeah, they keep showing all his flashback. Like, he keeps visualizing all those things that happened to him. It flashes back to those last moments with his family, with his wife, things like that. So it's like it's constantly there. He's like literally, it's like he's constantly having flashbacks, right? To some degree.
To some.
PTSD.
Yeah.
He's
But,
stuck in a
but he, as he, like, in Daredevil, as he argued, he doesn't have PTSD. He's,
No.
It's more like a fuel.
yes.
He uses
Yeah.
it to
Yeah.
focus his rage.
And when he's, like, in the scene where he's being tortured, like, whenever it's getting really bad, he flashes to just him in this quiet place with his wife. Because, like, he's waiting to
He
die
needs-
to be with her.
He needs to balance himself.
So what do we think about, well, first there's the overall story itself. And actually, just as by way of hint, because I remember we talked a lot about, Kyle, you talked a lot about when we did our last episode, about the changes in the story in the series versus the comic.
Oh, Jigsaw, his main villain, which what they did with him in the show is brilliant because the comics never adequately describe why he never kills Jigsaw. He kills every single criminal he comes up against, but he has this one recurring villain he never kills. And it's something the fans have picked apart for years. But the show brilliantly made it so that he has this, Billy's the last person in the world he has an emotional connection to. And so he just can't make that step and sever that tie.
Yeah, they were close friends
Yes.
and comrades. They fought alongside each other and would have done anything to save each other. So he now can't sever that tie.
and he has a connection. Well, at least in Netflix, they show him with his family, like he's
Yes.
part of those.
Yeah.
memories.
Yeah, but he was like Uncle Billy almost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I mean, by the end too, you get the sense that his rage at Billy for his betrayal is so much that he'd rather keep him in this miserable state. That for him is the best punishment for Billy that he could come up with, which is brilliant. I mean, they never
Poetic.
they never cover it. Like
is,
their
it's very
relationship is
poetic.
nowhere near that deep in the comics, and that was brilliant part of writing. Just like his relationship with Micro in the comics, there's just throwaway lines about him working for the NSA and knowing Frank. But you don't get any backstory, really. He's just always there helping him and supplying guns and technological knowledge. But they don't really establish the whole backstory. And I like
the growth of their relationship.
and like
in
and
this
from
series.
from like
'Cause they
enemies,
reconnect, too.
Frank's like almost ready to kill him right off the bat, and then showing how this friendship slowly builds. It's amazing, and that's one of my favorite things about the show. Even in the quieter moments, which the Punisher you'd think those wouldn't work.
It's just
But
one
those
of
are some
those
of the
things
best
you kind of
moments.
have to pay attention to. If you miss out on it, then it kind of takes away from the overall arc of the
Yeah.
season, I think.
But I agree, those are the strongest threads in the whole series so far are all of the scenes between Frank and Micro and all of the scenes between Frank and Billy Russo.
And that actor's so good, even when when you know he's Billy Russo. So fans of the comics automatically know he's
Jigsaw.
Frank's main villain.
Yeah.
But he was actually so convincing, like in the scenes with Curtis and everything, and visiting Frank's grave. You almost think that they're going to go in a completely opposite direction. Because you want to like him, you want to believe that he actually misses Frank and actually cares about Curtis and everything. I mean, I thought that was a huge testament to that actor, because you like going from very likable and then like halfway once you realize how evil he is, especially with his mom.
Sociopathic.
Yes.
Yes.
I really liked also the relationship between Frank and Micro in relationship to Micro's wife.
Yeah.
I thought those scenes were really powerful.
I agree with that 100%.
I do too. I think that's one of the brilliant devices, is that they kind of have Frank using Sarah as leverage against Micro. Like, you're not going to do anything to me because I know what you're doing for your wife, and I'm going to show you. But then he actually comes to care about her and Micro's children.
Especially his son.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Those are the moments you actually get to see Frank being a dad, because he was kind of doing it.
He almost
as a
adopts
surrogate.
that surrogate
Yeah.
family.
Yeah, and on the opposite end, I think I said the last time is, I mean, imagine if you're Micro and you're watching your wife develop feelings for,
The exact opposite of
the
you.
exact, yeah, and seeing him interact with your kids, and it's like you want to be there, you want to do something about it, but you can't. It's like, I mean, like I literally was feeling his pain in those moments because he can't do anything.
I thought the Micro character was very compelling because
Yeah.
of that dynamic that you just talked about, but also because there was a part of him that just kind of wanted to give up, that he thought, whatever he did would actually make them more in danger, and no matter how much he didn't like watching what he was watching, he couldn't stop watching it, and yet he couldn't bring himself to like take those steps until Frank actually kicked him in the keister and made him do it. I mean, I think that's a lot to play, and that actor did a really nice
He
job
did a great
doing
job.
it.
Well, I love that episode when he's drunk. Like, he
Yeah.
gets super drunk.
Yeah.
There was also a very fine line between watching his family because he wants to make sure that they're safe and being a bit creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he managed to walk
Yeah.
it without falling too heavily on the creepy side.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's moments.
There's moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go back to Billy because, man, that guy.
Loved him and hated him all at the same time.
Yes, well, I love, and maybe this is a dynamic in the comic that they did exploit, but I love the fact that they wrote him to be very specifically obsessed with his own good looks.
Yeah, he was in the comics. He was known as, when he was a mobster, Billy the Beaut, because he was obsessed with his face and his appearance, and that's why, obviously his transformation into Jigsaw was very hideous.
I mean, he clearly has all those narcissistic qualities.
Yeah.
That associate
His face
that.
is everything to him. Like,
Yeah.
he was given up for adoption. That's all he had,
Right.
and he relied on it for everything. Like, that's how he climbed up in the world.
I kind of think it's better that he's not just some mobster.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I love the fact that they gave him a really strong backstory that connected him to Frank. I don't think it would have had anywhere near the same effect if they'd gone with the comic backstory.
Did you, and this is both a question, it can be rhetorical or not, you can choose to answer it. Did you find his reasons for joining the conspiracy compelling enough?
Who's, Billy's or Frank's?
Billy's. Frank wasn't part of the conspiracy. Frank was just a pawn.
That's true.
I mean, he's self-serving, so
Yeah, I think he saw it as a step
Yeah.
up and a way to get
Yeah,
forward
power
and
hungry.
more
Yeah.
powerful, and that's
Yeah.
a narcissism quality.
Because I think he's trying to work his way to the top.
Yeah,
of
he was
everything.
sick of being a grunt, and he would
Yeah.
do anything
I mean,
to
that
be
was
the guy
quite clear to
issuing
me.
orders.
And you actually get to see that later on in the series in the scene where Frank actually takes down Billy's boss, the way that Billy kind of backs off and lets that happen.
Yeah.
Because for him, hey, this is how I get to advance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think you're right there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you say it like that, it's obvious. But I think at the time I was, I think
Were
at
you
the
just being overwhelmed by the things?
a little bit. Well, I was watching his transition, and I remember thinking to myself, oh, I knew it. I knew there was something off about that guy. And then you see the scene where he's torturing his biological mother, who he's
Yeah.
keeping comatose and under heroin in a hospital. And you're like, oh my God, that guy's like really off his gourd.
I kind of got the feeling from him straight away, even though the way that it was played was that he was a good guy. I got that feeling almost immediately that there was kind of a snake oil salesman going on.
Yeah. Exactly. And so I guess because I was kind of really waiting for that to come to light, I wasn't really paying much attention to the military stuff as much.
Well, and I was hoping that would happen because you do get that feeling, and it's kind of obvious that Agent Orange is the bad guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, he is a bad guy, but
There had to be a
seemed like
bridge.
he was going to be the overarching bad guy throughout.
I
Especially
will
when he doesn't
admit
get
that
shot in that moment with
because
the
of the feeling I got from him, as soon as I saw the word anvil, I googled
Yeah.
it to see what it meant. Because I'm not a Marvel Comics guy, so I had no idea. So I googled anvil, and that's when I realized, okay, so that's what's going on here. But you got that feeling immediately, and it is. He's a good bridge between the two sides of the coin.
Yeah, and there's a good hint in the villain of Daredevil season 2 for the Punisher, the general, Frank's commanding general who was running the drug operation, calling himself the Blacksmith. So then you go into season 2 and there's a company called Anvil.
One by, played by Clancy, what's his
Clancy
name?
Brown, yes.
who they brought back for flashbacks.
Yeah.
Back here.
Yeah, that went over my head.
He was also in
I
Flash.
didn't get the.
He played a general
That's
in
what
the
I'm
Flash
saying.
too.
That's what I was gonna
It's
say.
nice to have your encyclopedia.
That's what I was gonna say. Because like they're like, okay, that's what I'm saying. They're like discovering it, and people are deciding whether or not Billy's gonna be bad. When I'm watching it, Kyle's like, ha,
Jigsaw.
yeah, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But then that's what I said. I mean, it kind of alerts me to things ahead of time, so I know kind of what to look out for, which is what I still think kind of enhances the experience for me. So
I don't know. I
It's
think
got
it was
its benefits.
fairly obvious that he was going to be the villain,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
at the same time,
He was likable.
He was likable. You knew he was going to turn, but you liked him until he turned.
Yeah. One of the best scenes is when he's walking away from that explosion.
After he slaughters all the guys coming to kill him.
Yes. I don't know. I liked it. It was pretty cool.
And I also like that they established how like he's so like when in that scene he kills those guys so easily and like he's so top of the field, but then he goes up against Frank and then you get to see like how much elevated Frank is above these regular soldiers because the whole season they kind of play it up like they're equals, but then the whole final fight on the carousel it's very Billy wasn't cheating. I mean obviously Frank very easily took him down.
Well, yeah. And Billy's skills really come from getting the lower hand as opposed to the upper hand.
Yeah, he's the dirty fighter
He's the
rather
dirty
than
fighter.
I mean, he's skilled, but he's not as skilled, so he uses every trick in the book to win.
Whereas Frank will walk right up and shoot you in the face.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, difference. What about Billy and Madani?
ugh.
See that just highlighted her incompetence to me because she
Yeah.
started out investigating him because she knew he was in that unit, and then almost instantly drops that line of investigation because he's attractive and hitting on her.
And I get that she's gone through some things and she's having some PTSD herself a little bit, but it's like she's not very good at her job.
No.
I
Like,
mean, even Stein
terrible.
told her like 3 times, "Are you sure you should trust this guy?" And
Yeah.
she blew him off completely.
She's like, well, he's well hung, so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she immediately jumped into bed with him. She didn't even think twice about it. And you could even say, oh, well, she was just trying to be undercover.
No, she wasn't.
She
No,
wasn't.
she
She
totally
was-
captivated
completely
by
stopped.
him.
That's what I'm
trying
saying.
to play like
She,
cat and
she was a
mouse.
plot device to advance his character.
Do you think any part of this was real for him?
No.
No.
Not at all.
He was using
He
her
was
from
using
the
her to
moment-
garnish
Yeah,
information.
I was gonna say, pretty women to him are just like notches. They're achievements.
But I think in her case, it was
100%.
more of a means to an end. He knew that she was going to be finding out information, and
Yeah.
she was his best lead at getting to Frank.
Yeah.
So they were using each other?
Yeah, they were using each other. Well, I don't know that she was really using him so much.
No, I think she was really. She
She
eventually
actually,
cared.
I think she was getting an attachment to him at first. Yeah. But either way, she sucks at her job.
She does. Speaking of Sam, what do we think of him?
That was sad when Sam
I
died.
So
Yeah,
I,
too. I
I mean,
like Sam.
I thought he was going to be annoying in the first episode that he was in, but I really liked him.
He seemed like the skilled operative that got a bad break somewhere along the line and
Yeah.
was having to try and fight his way back up.
Yeah.
It was one of those characters that's usually fairly grey, but he gave it some colour.
And then the failed operation that she led where she goes up against a masked Billy and,
Ugh.
spoiler, Sam go bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
Billy takes him out.
Yeah, it looked him right in the eye when he did it too. He wanted him to know who it was that took him out, which...
Yeah.
Sociopath.
Yes. But very well played. I mean, he played
I'm sorry, I was
the
reliving
sociopath
it.
well.
I was getting sad.
I thought your face was in response to the conversation.
No, I was reliving it.
Yeah, I did not want him. I wasn't ready for that character to be done. I thought
Yeah.
we would see more of him a little bit.
Well,
Well,
again,
he
it was,
provided some much-needed comic relief at times too. This is a very heavy show,
It is.
so
It is. It's
kind of got to expect
deep.
it, but yeah.
It's dark. It's gritty. So those little moments of comic relief are very useful.
yeah, him and drunk Micro. That's all there was.
Yeah.
I mean, there was that little moment when, I forget the character's name, it's the kid in Curtis's group sessions that ends up
Lewis.
Lewis.
Oh, yeah, Lewis.
What about Lewis?
That's a nut job right there.
Yeah.
Well,
That's somebody who just went off the rails because, and in a way, I think Billy Russo wanted him to go off the rails and orchestrated every
He
aspect
did.
of him going that way.
100%.
You think he had that plan at the get-go when he
I don't
was
think right
trying
away.
to kick
No,
him
no,
out?
I think
Yeah.
at first he was genuine with Curtis, like this kid can't function. Plus, I mean, he is still a business owner. I think he realized it best for his interests. But once he realized he needed to flush Frank out,
He saw it as
then
an
he was fine
opportunity.
with it. Yeah.
plus he was being egged on by the NRA sympathizer in the group too.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if he was just a pawn in Billy's. I don't think so. I think it was a combination of everything. So, and he just.
But I mean,
he
I
had
like
his own PTSD too.
and that whole subplot of showing his deranged form of vigilantism, like versus Frank's, and highlighting the difference between the two of them was
Well, he
really
was
good.
copycatting him.
Yeah.
He was trying to.
Trying
He was
to.
trying to. I
Trying
was going
to.
to say, he was far more unhinged and not really focused.
His demise was perfect.
Yeah.
I really liked the way in which
What? Are you laughing at the demise?
Yep.
Are you lying?
No, she legit was reacting to that.
Death is perfect. Go.
Yes.
I
No, that particular.
I thought his demise was perfect. The way in which he ended up basically trapped with his own devices and couldn't do anything to.
Yeah.
Completely outsmarted by Frank and put into a box.
Again,
and-
satisfying.
Yeah.
Satisfying.
And knowing
very
he's
satisfying.
dying for nothing, because he's
Yeah.
not going to take that
Yeah.
senator or whatever that politician was with him.
Yeah.
His entire
'Cause that's-
plot
yeah.
was just completely squashed and outwitted, and
Yeah.
he couldn't handle that, and I liked that
Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah.
Sick. No one, I don't think, anyone watching is inherently that violent, but because the characters are so bad and the things that are happening, you're like, yes!
They're
Especially
really
after
you
what he
want
does
to
to
hate
Curtis,
them.
who
Yeah.
only wanted to help him.
Yeah.
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 You
Yeah,
need to hate
Curtis
this
was
guy.
nice.
I really
Like,
Curtis-
like
Curtis-
the character.
Curtis still lives.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
But he
Don't speak
also
about him in
got
the past tense.
torture. He
I
also got
watched
lots
it
of
in past
torture.
tense. I watched it putting up the Christmas tree.
That's festive.
Is Curtis a character from the comics that becomes more than
It's
just...
kind of more, because they've shown some of Frank's old army buddies, but he's kind of an amalgamation of a couple. Same with Madani, she's an amalgamation of a couple different like FBI agents and S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, and then he kind of just brought him to... Because in The Punisher,
Do
he doesn't
all of
have a
those people
reoccurring
not know how to
cast.
do their job?
Because, well, since he
She's
doesn't have a
real
recurring
drag,
cast...
Nick.
Oh, Madani or Hilary?
Madonna.
No.
I thought you meant Dragon.
Boom!
Throwdown!
Stop trying to
Hey.
cause
Yeah,
family
yeah.
strife, Nick.
I was generally
You were not.
clarifying.
You were.
You were not.
It's
Cats,
weird.
pigeons, enjoy.
Nick and Spencer are sitting next to each other. That's danger, folks.
Well, I don't do anything.
He's been egging you on this whole time. Anyway, what were we talking about? The Punisher.
Yeah, the recurring cast, which I was saying in the comics he doesn't have any, it's just him and Micro.
Oh.
And I think it's much better that they did do a recurring.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kind of supporting cast, the ensemble, really isn't just a plot device.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Karen Page.
Please.
I minded her less
Aw.
in this than I did in Daredevil. Obviously,
Agreed.
she's in this
Yeah.
less, so it's harder too. But
But maybe that's why we didn't mind it as much.
There's just something about that character
They just-
that annoys the
They
hell
just
out
don't.
of
she's
They
me.
don't
Yeah.
write her well.
She's
Well,
not
especially-
as annoying as Foggy.
Well, like
and
I
I
was
think
saying,
because
Yeah, but-
one of my annoyances about her in Daredevil is she seems like a huge hypocrite in season 2, especially
Yes.
because
Yeah.
that's my
she's-
biggest problem.
she's pro Punisher and she's all mad about the Daredevil for going.
And then in
up.
Defender, she's completely against Daredevil and that kind of vigilante justice. And then right into Punisher, she's like, okay, be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he's doing worse.
And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's like, why is she so sympathetic towards him?
They haven't given us that.
But then Matt goes out and
I
punches
think-
people, and she's like, stop
I think
it.
partly because, and it could be that she's seen Frank's full story. She hasn't seen Daredevil's full story, so to her, Frank has a reason for his
That's kinda
temper,
true.
his agony, his anguish.
Because Matt hasn't told them all of his
Whereas
history.
Daredevil is just a vigilante to her without that backstory of why he's a
No,
vigilante.
that makes some sense. I agree.
Not enough sense for me.
It's not enough sense to me. It's a
The
stretch.
Punisher is
Yeah.
so much.
It's a kernel, but it doesn't really fully explain the
Right.
spectrum.
Well, I mean, there's 3 women in the room, but I'm going to say women aren't always rational.
Hey!
I don't know if saying that out
I'm
loud
going
is
to
rational.
irrationally do something.
There's 3 men in
Anyways.
the room, and saying things are not always intelligent on that end either.
Hey, I don't disagree. There's many a time I open my mouth and unintelligible garbage
You're
comes
gonna open
out.
up some cans there.
So speaking of the battle of the sexes, what about this seed of romance that they're trying to play out between Karen and Frank?
Don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care.
Wow,
Well, here's the thing.
merciless.
Anytime you have a show like this, trying to force romance
I
into
was
it just
gonna
doesn't
say,
work
I
for
don't
me.
think
It's
that
unneeded.
he
It's
needs this
unnecessary.
right now.
Because the only reason I bought any romance with Frank, and it wasn't too much, but it was with Micro's wife, was because that felt like a surrogate for the family. But he's never gonna get. I don't.
Yeah,
think,
and he was like
My
purposely
understanding
being
of-
kind of flirty because he needed access. But something like the comics established, Frank can't love anybody but his wife. Girls try, and it's always like played more comical because he's so shut off.
And I feel like the I don't really know the Punisher other than from Netflix, but you get the whole thing is that he's stuck. He can't get over the loss of his wife
And he's never going to have that "Hi, honey, I'm home" moment after going out and butchering 35 people. It just isn't
No.
going to happen.
Yeah, and if he did, which it wouldn't be with Karen,
No.
who can't handle the Daredevil being a vigilante. Like, I don't know.
Karen and Foggy should hook up and both leave.
They should spin off.
Well, they
They should
can't
be spun
leave.
off on a show that isn't aired.
Which is basically
I
what
like
he
that
just said.
term.
I'm hoping Foggy gets back to how he was and should be.
I think
I mean, I think he
Foggy's
reached
getting
that
there.
point at the end of Defenders when he
I
brought Matt
agree.
his
Yeah.
Daredevil uniform.
I think Foggy's getting there. I do agree that they've been all over the place with the Karen character.
Yes.
And that's really largely because they introduced the Elektra character, so Matt's been super obsessed with her and not so obsessed with Karen. So Karen's off being judgy. Maybe her hypocritical judgment comes from the fact that she's jealous of Matt and maybe supplanting some of her feelings into Frank. I'm not saying it's right.
So you're saying
No, it's
chicks
true,
are
she-
crazy.
That chick is crazy.
Yeah,
You-
don't
you
lump
have to
us in
sleep
with
together.
her.
However, I do not blame her 1 minute for being all jealous over Matt because, hello.
Yeah, what's he doing with Elektra? Speaking of
And
crazy
you know what?
chicks.
Even though Frank can't love her back, he's still hot too. So, I mean, I get it.
Okay.
He just got.
Hot in a murderous rage, by the way.
Just took a direction.
Well,
I don't know which
I mean-
direction it's going.
While you
They're all
said
saying shit over
complicatedly
there.
attractive too.
Oh, well, yeah, but
Okay.
complicated being the right word, right?
yeah, but she also didn't like Daredevil, and there's.
That's because she watched it out of
She
order.
liked season 2.
I liked season 2
This
a
is
lot.
the story.
I
She's
liked
sticking
season
to
2. It
it.
redeemed itself in season 2, even though Foggy and Karen
No, it was
sucked.
amazing to begin with.
Just have to watch it in order.
I'm not going to go back and rewatch everything in order at this point. I've already done it once.
And this is,
Really?
I mean, this
Yeah,
may
it's
be
about
the lost
podcast
episode.
about
This
it.
has
It's a
appeared in
rectified
other
conversation.
episodes. This very conversation.
Oh, yes.
It's
Yes,
like
I
a
know.
disclaimer.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like Hillary's
So it's like
disclaimer.
Hilary has a disclaimer, Kristen has a disclaimer.
But only during. Actually, no, it comes up in the DC ones too.
Yep.
Self-awareness is good.
It's the
One-
millstone around
I
your neck.
make one mistake and I can never get rid of it.
That's usually what happens, yo.
Yeah, especially
Yep.
in this group.
I've learned that.
So,
It'll be in your eulogy.
Let's just hope that I outlive you.
Oh, you
how
will.
about Mary Elizabeth
That would be
Mastrantonio
Spencer
as the
going dark
CIA
again.
deputy director?
I thought she was great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like her.
She had that sort of moral compass that can be bent until she realizes that it's being bent too far. And I liked that aspect
Yeah.
of her character. It's like, look, I'm here to get things done. I want them to be done the right way. If we stray a little bit into the grey area, that's okay. Wait, what are you doing over there in the black? Get out of the black.
Yeah.
I
Well,
like
yeah,
that.
she kind of had that double speak with Agent Orange, where it's like, is she giving him the okay to do whatever he wants, but being weird about it, or like, does she actually have that line? And then you see closer to the end that she does have that line.
Yeah, she had no idea how the horrible things that he was a part of and how bad it went when she was kind of letting him go forward.
I really
Clean
enjoyed
things
seeing their interaction on the bridge. It felt very much like a clandestine meeting between people that would usually meet in an office in a government building, but hey, we're talking about stuff that maybe we don't want to be overheard talking about.
It was interesting to see, like, you see him as the top dog, and then once they introduce her, and you see him kind of cowering to...
Well, it was like, God, I can't believe this woman's my boss kind of a
Yeah.
feel as you got from him. He feels like he should be in charge of everything.
And what was she
While at the
promoting
same
him
time
to or
trying
offering
to
him to?
kiss up to her.
Right.
What job was he trying to get promoted to from her?
She's deputy, and they were going to make her leader, like the actual
The head.
director.
Yeah, because
So-
the guy that
CIA.
Frank killed
CIA.
in...
And
or-
he was going to essentially be her right hand.
Right, her deputy was her plan.
He was going to take her job when she moved up into the job of the guy that got killed in his own house.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yep,
Order of succession.
Yeah.
Us British know about these things.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there we go.
We have an order of succession.
Revolution.
You didn't exist until after it.
Many, many years, thankfully. Jeez.
As a nation, you didn't exist until after the revolution.
Right. Are you
Hashtag
telling
us about American
We're
history?
aware.
Damn right I
Hell no.
He's an American too.
am. I'm basically. Left here longer than I lived there.
So there you go.
Right.
So what about... I don't know where this went. Are we
He
talking
started
about
it.
the Punisher?
I always started.
It's true. You are an instigator. So now let's talk about some of the ending events of the season. Okay? So Billy, of course, captures Sarah and Micro's son. The daughter, Leo, runs away. David has to come back to the land of the living just to make all of this happen and get his kids back. We've got all the confrontations, including the one on the bridge that you just mentioned. And then we have this huge confrontation, which Kyle sort of bridged into, between Frank Castle and Billy Russo to be Jigsaw.
There was a moment before that I think bears mentioning too, when Frank attacks Agent Orange's house.
Yes.
And has the sniper rifle.
Oh, yeah, right on
And
him.
Agent Orange is standing there looking
Oh,
out,
yeah.
and even when the sniper's bullet, which was literally dead center of his forehead, strikes the window, he doesn't even flinch.
It's bulletproof
No.
glass,
Yeah.
we mentioned.
Yeah, but he does
But
not
still.
even flinch, and
Yeah, it's still the reaction.
that is such an incredible moment that says what a psychopath this guy is.
There's just a whole set of psychopaths, and they're all working together.
And they're all men.
Yeah, fancy that, Spencer.
This is a weird episode.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
This is so weird.
Please keep listening to us. So what do you think about the end of the season and how that all transpired?
My favorite things is when Frank allows himself to be tortured by Agent Orange and Billy. Like, he knows everyone else is safe.
Oh,
He
it's
knows
so
that Michael's
insane.
family's safe. And he knows this is probably going to kill him. But if it even gives him the slim chance of his revenge, that it's worth it.
He's gonna sit there
And the whole time he's being tortured, like, it's just so merciless. But you still get the sense that Frank's the one in the room who's in control.
Yeah.
Like, that, to me, that sums up the Punisher perfectly.
And that moment where he takes out Agent Orange, and I think I said this in the first version of this episode,
The last
was
episode.
so incredibly satisfying. It was graphic, it was brutal, and it was absolutely everything that guy deserved.
Yeah, well, they built those moments because what's the guy who worked with Madani when Punisher breaks into his house and tortures
Both.
him? Yeah, like it has that same feeling.
It was played by C. Thomas Howell, by
Yep.
the way.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
guy.
that was good.
Uh-huh.
Like they even escalated that, which was
He has not aged well.
oh no.
No.
Yeah.
How everything escalated, even from him punishing and you seeing people getting kind of what you're hoping to see the Punisher do. They even went a lot further for Agent Orange, and you didn't think he could go further?
Right, that's
Unless you know
yeah.
the Punisher,
It's
then
like
you know he can go
right.
farther.
Well, right. It's like how could this get any more
But-
in depth than it
And it
already
does.
is?
And that whole scene is when Frank finally gets out, and Billy's helped him to get out because Billy's seeing, hey, this is my way to advance. And you get that crescendo of Frank finally taking out the guy that orchestrated his family's death. And you watch Billy walking around the outside like a prowling tiger as well. There's just so much visual beauty in the way that they did that.
Yeah.
Gory beauty, but you know what I mean? It's that, there's that satisfaction of seeing...
But it almost needs to be it almost needs to be that gory.
Well, Agent Orange was the most vile
You know.
person in the entire series. So to see him get completely taken down and shredded.
Well, and I love that Frank's plan had two parts. It's like, okay, either he tortures me to death, the footage gets sent out and his life's over, or I get free and I murder him. Like, either way, Frank was going to win.
And the fact that Billy set him free made it poignant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good retelling. Thank
Yes,
you.
it was. I don't know if I can add. I mean, that's part of it. It's the crescendo that we talked about, and you're hitting on all the.
It was a crescendo worthy of ending this season, and then you get.
But it was
more
the
of that
pre-crescendo,
build. Yeah.
wasn't it? It was that massive build, you get that massive satisfaction, and then you get another
Oh
one.
wait, it's not done.
Yeah, you get that other one at the fairground.
Yeah, the fairground for me was really, really kind of almost horror movie-esque. The way it was filmed.
Almost.
Well, it was
Yeah,
Billy
it was.
trying.
It was.
The fact that Billy was trying to psychologically affect Frank by making this all happen at the fairground and having hostages.
Yeah, he knew. Yeah.
Which was
And Frank just being like,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, if he actually knows him, then I would think that he would be smart enough to realize that that's only gonna backfire on him.
Well, I think
So-
his fear is like he knew Frank would never stop hunting him, so he thought that if he kind of forced the confrontation, Frank wouldn't be ready because he just got tortured. But really, setting it at that carousel is
That's
just
what I
giving
said.
him all the
It's-
fuel
it's
he
the
needs.
ammunition that
He's already
I'll say.
amped up full of adrenaline, and then you put him in a situation that reminds him
Like-
of everything he's lost, and
It
that just
kind of-
adds more.
Well,
Yeah.
it resets him, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, when we start the
So
series,
it's like that was the worst decision he could have made.
right. When we start the series, we're watching the montage of him post Daredevil, where he's carrying out all of his punishments, and then he thinks he's mostly done with that, except for the people he doesn't know, which is what this season explores. And you'd already kind of mentioned sort of a loss of laser focus that you perceived, even though there was maybe not the loss as much as it was just lessened because he didn't have that amp up, that fuel, which really the carousel
Quite yet.
scene kicked him back. I mean, by that time, he was back in his full Punisher, only this time it wasn't a t-shirt and a trench coat, it was a bulletproof vest with the skull on it. But that's what he was in by that time. So
And you get that moment of, I almost want to call
Yeah.
it the Batman Joker moment, where
Yes.
he creates his nemesis.
Yeah.
He creates it's the yin and yang
Dude,
finally
when he
fully coming
literally-
together.
When he
It's beautiful.
throws his
And that's
face
that's
into
like the
that
perfect
mirror.
example, because as bad as Billy is now, and
Jigsaw's
Frank thinks
far
he's
worse.
taking he's putting Billy on a whole new level by taking away the things that held Billy back.
I think season 2 is going to be
It's
really
gonna be
violent. Even more.
Gotta expect it.
I'm
You're
okay.
just
I'll say I'm
Kylie.
okay with it because of the way that the story
Kylie
works.
just is kind of, she doesn't handle things. She's kind of a little
I don't mind psychological thriller horror type stuff, but yeah, when we get into blood, it gets a little
Well,
dicey for me.
but the thing with this is, it is not just blood for the sake of blood. It's very contextual.
It is.
It really fits the story, and too many of the I don't like horror films, so seeing blood and squeamish stuff, I'm the same way. But when it's
something you two don't have in common.
Hillary's mind blown. But when you do violence contextually and with this level of reality feel to it, it makes sense, and
Sure.
so I could deal with it.
I still turned my face away multiple times during the watching of this
It's
season.
good for you.
No.
No, it's not.
I'm in it, but no. Anyway, so as I mentioned, anybody else want to say anything about the last part of the season? No. So The Punisher was automatically renewed for a second season, like quickly. I don't even think they've done that for the Defenders yet. But The Punisher was a definite. What would you want to see in season 2? Where can they go? Because at the end of the season, as we've mentioned, Rollins or Agent Orange is dead. We know Billy's going to be Jigsaw, and he's in the hospital probably stewing in his own bandages.
Well, his brains are kind of scrambled too, so
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be there at the beginning of
No.
season 2. I think he's
Or
going
if
to
he
come in
is, I
closer
think
to
he'll
the
be
end.
like a puppet master behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the
Maybe,
big
yeah.
Jigsaw reveal probably for a while.
Close to the end, I would imagine.
Yeah, like season 2 of Daredevil, where you didn't get Kingpin until almost the end, and it was just
A taste.
yeah.
Micro and family are reunited. Madonna's
Madonna,
Madonna's
Special guest star Madonna.
like a virgin.
That'd be an interesting special guest star. Madonna's career is preserved. She's impressed Marion James, but she's also kind of a rogue element. She does what she wants. And then Frank is pardoned and released by the CIA, and the last we see of him, he's back in witness protection under his name Pete, and he's back in the veteran support group with Curtis, basically talking about how unsure he is about his future.
So I think season 2 is going to kick off with his the thing that makes him fully the Punisher is his war on crime. Not just people involved with him, but every single criminal out that he comes across. And I think the season's going to kick off with that starting and him really fully becoming the Punisher.
Yeah, I hope he's already wearing the skull instead of like wearing the skull at the end of Daredevil season 2 and then not wearing it for all
I
of the
think
seasons.
there's got to be some big crime that affects him personally to bring him out of witness protection and full on Punisher. It can't just be. Oh, please. No, there needs to be something, though. It can't
They're
just
harsh
be
today.
crime in general. There needs to be something that personally affects him, otherwise it's going to lose some of its luster.
I think and a lot of it's like he's going to realize that he can't live without his war. He needs a war. It doesn't matter what it is.
Do you think, now here's a question, do you think they'd bring Matt back on to have that conversation they had in season 2?
That would make me a whole lot of excited if it did happen.
Yeah, it would be nice. I mean, their interactions are so great in the comics. Their weird friendship pairing against each other it's a real, like whenever Punisher shows up in Daredevil comics, like the fans go nuts because they play so well off each other.
Well, and they're really like the flip side of a very fine
Yin and
line.
yang.
Yes.
So it
Yin and
becomes
yang.
very interesting. And if we do see this war on crime, which is his whole reason for being essentially in the comics, that would almost seem to organically want to inspire Matt to come back out and say, this is wrong.
Yeah, it's
he
like,
did.
I agree with why you're doing it, but I don't agree with how you're doing
Yes.
it.
Right.
The most interesting thing is everybody else in the Marvel Universe considers the Punisher a serial killer because of the violence and because of what he
Rightly
does.
so.
And Daredevil's-
Technically, that by definition is true.
Yeah, Daredevil's the only one who kind of understands Frank.
Yeah.
He's that anti-hero, isn't he? He's like Dexter. He only kills bad people. He doesn't just willy-nilly go around killing people. He has a reason for killing them.
He's a lot less quiet about it than
Yes, he's
Dexter.
definitely a lot less quiet about it than Dexter.
And from the outside, like, it just looks like a bloodbath, so it doesn't look like somebody who is
In
precision
control, yeah.
killing.
Yeah, if you're just a regular person and you're seeing it on the news, you're like,
It'd be scary.
yeah.
And that's actually a scene we didn't talk about where he goes into the mob casino game and just takes everybody out.
Yeah.
That scene was beautifully done.
Which I think is going to come back into season 2
Well, I
because
mean, it is
they
shot
mentioned
well.
the Nucci
It is.
crime family and there's a whole storyline where he goes to war against them. So I think that's going to be a subplot in the second season.
Oh, that could be what kicks him off.
Yeah.
Kicks it off. They could be coming after him.
Because I mean, he killed all their lieutenants essentially.
Yeah.
That's true. I wondered if they were going to come back at all, especially when he told the kid that they wanted to kill to run
Well,
away.
and there's a nice little hint to that because in the comics, the storyline where he goes against the Nucci family is called Welcome Back Frank because he's been gone for a while and then he gets pulled back in. And then at the end of that episode, Micro says when he sees him on the camera, "Welcome back, Frank," right after he kills all the guys at the casino.
Yeah, it could very well be that because any time a lieutenant is killed in a mob, a new one takes their place and they want to make their bones. So
Yeah,
Super fun.
retribution.
There's lots of interesting scenes. See, I wondered because at the end of the season,
See, y'all should watch it with Kyle.
Well, sometimes that's just not practical, Hilary.
We should live stream a watch.
Skype.
Maybe we should. That would be an
I've
interesting
suggested that before
experiment.
doing a live stream
You
with
have.
a show, but it might be difficult.
It
It would
is.
just be us just watching, going,
Oh,
People probably think that's
happening?
hilarious. I would think it's funny.
Well, we do have precedent. We have a podcast watch party for the Doctor Who premiere a couple seasons ago.
Oh, that's right.
So it would have to be a singular episode, not like a whole season
Before
of the
you-
I was
Punisher.
going to say I clearly joined right after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that was more like initial reactions of
Yeah, we watched the episode
together, and then we recorded right after.
Right.
It wasn't as we were watching.
Was it like...
Well, I also
Wait, when did
recorded
this happen?
some
When Peter
reactions
Capaldi
to
came
the
onto it?
opening
Is that what you
credits
did?
and stuff. So
Oh.
that was the one where Davros was in the season. I forget.
John Bernthal did hint that Vincent D'Onofrio will be in the second season.
Punisher?
Yes.
Shut up.
No, I'm
Because
excited.
other than Jigsaw, the only other reoccurring villain Frank goes against is the Kingpin.
Well, isn't he coming back in Daredevil's
Season 3,
Yeah.
he's the big villain.
Oh
It's their big
my
storyline.
gosh.
The big final showdown
Well,
between
I mean,
Daredevil and...
Kingpin is so instrumental through the entire that side of the Marvel universe.
I'm
Yeah.
nervous it's
And is-
the big showdown, like they'd be done with it.
Yeah.
And so, quick question then. So, okay, for timeline purposes, Daredevil season 3, Punisher season 2,
Yes.
which one is coming out first?
Daredevil
Daredevil.
season 3.
Okay.
It's coming out after Jessica
That's
Jones.
what I
coming out
thought.
this
It's
fall.
Jessica Jones,
They
Luke
just-
Cage,
Oh.
Daredevil.
Doesn't Jessica
Iron
Jones
Fist.
start in just a couple of days?
Yeah.
March 8th.
March 8th.
March 8th, yes.
And Kristen will
So
have it
close.
watched by March 9th.
One of my friends gave me a little miniature Jessica Jones kicking down a wall figure. She's going to be watching it with me.
They have a cool, cute little set that
You
puts
think
together
inanimate objects
Daredevil
will
and
watch
Luke
TV?
Cage with her, and the other bases like combined to make a little scene.
That's weird. Anyway, yes. Luke Cage is supposed to come out in the summer. Daredevil's supposed to come out in the fall. You will have to. And Iron Fist is supposed to come out in 2019. And then I
I
don't
can't
know
wait
about
for that.
Punisher season 2. They haven't put a time limit.
They're still
on
doing
it.
scripts,
Yeah.
so. But it's
And they
nice
have
they're
not
letting
yet
John
renewed the
Bernthal have a lot
Defenders.
of control into it, since he's such the driving force between, or making this season happen.
Well, everything in this show has been entirely organic, just from his performance.
He
in
is
Well, I mean,
Daredevil.
and remember,
perfect.
they weren't even going to do a Punisher show
I
until
know.
he made an audition tape saying
Everything.
you should do.
Well, yeah,
He
just,
nails all the nuances of the
He
He
character.
does. He was so
literally-
natural.
Like, yeah,
Kyle, is he the best Punisher?
Yes.
easily.
Okay,
Easily.
good. 'Cause
Like,
I haven't watched any, but I think he's the best.
But a
He
big
is.
part of that is also these scripts were very good.
Yes.
They're
never-
better than the source material.
I
Yeah,
mean-
and the other versions of Punisher were like cheap grindhouse almost movies. Like they just rushed them out. They didn't really care about the character. They were just, oh, we want an action movie to come out this summer.
Sure.
This is the only one that actually cared about him as a character.
just all the things, like even this, like, you know, because we talked about like the dad moments and, you know, him like playing catch outside with Micro's son, but then there's that moment when he finds out his kid's like being
Yeah, that's-
bad at school.
That psychotic
And
moment with the knife was
Yeah.
beautiful.
We see Dad
Like-
Frank combined with Punisher
for
Frank.
Frank, and I was like, holy crap, like if I would have shit my pants if I was that kid, which he kind of did get very upset, but I was just saying, he was like, I'm sorry, just things are happening, and then, you know, then he instantly retracts that side of himself, like, I'm sorry, man, you know, and then immediately goes back into Dad
Nature versus
Frank.
nurture.
Yeah, it's just, like, everything he does is so, it's just, yeah, it just comes out so well in the
He's-
character and on screen.
He's
And he was
awesome.
determined to be that character. I mean, we saw him at Comic-Con, and that's what he said.
Yeah, I mean, really, you just have to watch the episode of Daredevil season 2 where it's just him and Daredevil on the rooftop monologuing at each other.
the best
He doesn't even
episode
need
of
the
the
bullets, the violence, any of that.
Just
Just
great
the
dialogue
strength of
and
his
the
character,
strength
yeah.
of the acting and the
Good.
characters. It's enough, yeah.
Before now, I don't think watching any of the Punisher stuff you've really cared about Frank. In this, you do. You care about Frank.
Yeah.
I cared about him in
Yeah, I
Daredevil.
cared about him in Daredevil.
But I
too.
think this is
I don't
No,
mean Daredevil, I meant
the
in the
other
movies,
versions.
etc. The other versions
Oh, I
of
haven't
Frank
seen any
Castle,
of that.
you didn't really care about Frank Castle.
Well,
Yeah.
one of them was...
This incarnation, you kind of latch onto him. You want
Yeah.
him to be okay,
Well, sure, you're rooting for him.
right?
And they connect you. I mean, he's humanized. He could just be a bloodthirsty, bloodlusty,
Freight train.
revenge-killing machine. But he actually does have some human feeling, which they bring out in the moments that he does connect with Micro and his family and whatever else. And I think that's... And yes, John Bernthal is amazing. Like,
Amazing.
I don't even know what
I think
the
he's
show
better
would be.
than. I think he does a better job than Charlie Cox does as Daredevil. Honestly.
That's pushing it.
I wouldn't say that. I think they're equals, but they're totally different.
Well, I just,
Equals, but
and
sorry,
it's probably
that
just
just...
because it's a
Apples
more
and
help my
grounded.
blood pressure go up.
No, I think it may be just because it's a more grounded story. You know, it
Oranges
feels
and
like it's some.
tangerines.
Yeah.
I don't know. I find the cat.
I like
that.
Charlie Cox is. I'm not taking anything away from Charlie Cox. I
Stop
just
it.
think that John Bernthal is slightly stronger on the acting side of it.
But isn't that because the Punisher's character is kind of more in your face? I mean, Daredevil's character, by its definition, he's much more...
He doesn't know where your face is.
Well, there's that.
Wow.
Like, not PC.
I think
But
part
okay.
of it, and I think part of it is Daredevil always is. When he's being Daredevil, he's having fun. Like that's him letting go. Like he's not angst driven or like driven. For him, going out at night and being Daredevil, like that completes him. Whereas Frank has that dark side, so he has it kind of shows.
Well, or another aspect is
They both-
Matt's spiritual connection. Frank doesn't... His spirituality is solely what he can do with his hands to get what he needs to get. out of
I
this
just think
revenge.
Spencer likes that kind of character more, and
Yeah,
that's
I think
really
you just
where
like the
you're
dark
getting
dude.
that from.
Well, and it could be that I can kind of see an extreme Batman in the Punisher. Like if Batman had
Did
nothing
kill
holding
Decided
him
to kill
back.
people
If
and didn't wear a mask.
But if Batman went to the full extreme of where the Punisher is the full extreme of where Batman comes from.
Sure.
They both come from very traumatic loss of family through violence. Batman restrains himself because of Alfred, whereas Punisher didn't have somebody to restrain him. So he's full on out there.
Okay. Still, I like Charlie an awful lot.
I like Charlie an awful lot too. I'm
And
not detracting
Daredevil.
from that.
And I'm not just, placating
No.
Kyle. Daredevil has become
No.
my favorite in this universe.
I think Charlie is perfect for Matt Murdock. I've read a lot of the Daredevil comics.
Yeah, and
he made me do it.
He is the tone, the exact tone,
but
the exact
Homework.
No, but
shades of
kind
the
of.
character.
But the thing is, though, is I agree with him though. Like I enjoyed it. I mean, yes, he wanted me to read it, and I did it because I wanted to show interest in things that he loves that much. That's just relationship stuff. But I actually legitimately did enjoy it. There's some things you do read in comic book form, and you're just like, that's okay. But a lot of these stories that we're talking about, you can see them lifting off the pages. And I think Charlie does a really great job too. They're just different characters.
I mean, when I read the comics now,
different
like I
tones.
read
Yeah,
it and
different tones.
I hear the actors' voices, and like that's how you know when they nailed it. Because now I will forever associate these characters with them.
There is a certain simplicity to the Punisher, though, which I think might appeal to you. I'm not saying you're simple.
No, just own it. It was good.
It was good.
Unintentional.
He would do it.
I was merely saying the Punisher has a very, like you said, laser focus, which Daredevil does not necessarily have. That's not what drives Matt Murdock.
And it could be just that the drive is so focused. He sees his end goal and nothing's going to get in his way.
My opinion.
Whereas Daredevil can get distracted by a chick in a leather red suit.
Yeah.
I'm making jokes. I love both of these characters. I really do. I just think there's a little bit more depth to Frank than there is to
I
Matt.
just don't agree with that, but we can.
I think there's equal amounts of different depths.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
I agree with that.
What I will say is I'm really excited that we talked about this, because at the end of this season I was like, where can they go? And I know nothing about the Punisher. Like zero.
Does he have any other major villains that we're likely to see outside of Jigsaw?
You said it was just Jigsaw and King.
Kingpin and another guy called Bushwhacker.
Oh, that's an unfortunate.
Yeah. But other than that, most of his villains are occasionally other Marvel villains will pop in, but he kills everybody else he comes up against.
Yeah, that's what you said.
There is that.
So it could literally be a whole season of building towards the Jigsaw reveal by him going against mobs
And Kingpin.
mob bosses and finding out that Kingpin has got something going on.
I would love it if he was integrated more into the other four. Yeah.
But he's not really a team player, is he?
Yeah.
I didn't
they
say
kind of-
completely integrated.
Right.
I just said a little more.
But neither is Jessica Jones. She didn't want to be a part of the
Yeah,
team.
she's a misanthrope.
It's true. Are we likely to see like characters like Bullseye and stuff like that, do you think? Or are they too campy for
Didn't we see
these
a little
universes?
shot of him?
Bullseye was in season 1 of Daredevil for one little bit.
I
He's a
remember
sniper.
that.
He's a sniper on the roof who works for the Kingpin. He opens up his bag and a stack of playing cards that he uses to kill people is on top, and then he reaches past that and gets out the parts of the sniper
I
gun.
missed that.
But
An
they
owl
did
dude or
say
whatever.
Charlie Cox has
Super
been
owl.
saying that like his Bullseye will be in it, or he's going to be upset, like because he loves Bullseye. He
Bullseye
can't wait
should
to
be
play
in it.
off.
As long as it's not the one from the movie.
Yes. The Colin
That was
Farrell
unfortunate.
one.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
not.
so far
let's
every
not talk
character
about
has
that.
been improved upon the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Let's not.
Including Elektra. Oh, wait.
The Ben
no,
Affleck
no,
Daredevil.
No,
it was Bullseye.
Electra was the high point of the
was
Daredevil
Colin Farrell.
movie.
That's true.
Yeah.
Jennifer Garner didn't do a bad job.
remember.
He killed Elektra in the movie. Well, in the comics too, but
I just remember Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin.
That's because
Yeah.
that movie's
Yeah.
not good. That's
Yeah.
why you blocked
Bullseye
it.
was his henchman, the guy that Kingpin hired to kill.
He literally
You did?
had a like
Bullseye.
burn mark bullseye or
Yeah,
a
or
scar
scar.
on his forehead.
Like,
Because he actually said, like,
yeah. If you
bullseye
want
and,
to
like,
talk,
pointed
if
to
you
it.
want to
Well,
talk,
and that's more
campy,
unfortunate because in the comics,
there you
Daredevil
have it.
carves that into his forehead once because he gets all cocky. He's like Bullseye, and Daredevil beats the crap out of him and then carves it into his forehead.
Oh.
It should be an insult.
Yeah, rather than a advertisement.
How does The Punisher compare to other TV shows, superhero shows, and please now, with this 6th property out on Netflix, rank where you think The Punisher is amongst the 6?
I struggle with ranking Defenders as a separate show.
So do I, because I
I
would
do
say Punisher second after Daredevil, because I'm so connected to the character. But I love Defenders so much because it has everything I love about the world.
Okay,
Well,
yeah,
you
but
can
can we
take
just
the
leave?
Defenders
Yeah,
out
let's
of
leave
it.
the Defenders out of it because that's got a whole different tone and they're all mixed together and things. So.
Yeah, Kylie.
I still
Yeah.
would have I still struggle
Shush, Nick!
He's
because
just being saucy.
there are moments in Jessica Jones that I thought were phenomenal.
Yeah.
There are moments in Daredevil that were absolutely outstanding, and then there's moments in this that are really good. These are the top 3, and I think from episode to episode they can vary. And then it's
Not for me.
Iron Fist, and then it's a commercial, then it's print ads, then it's Luke Cage.
Wow.
It's very specific.
I would put Punisher at 3.
I would also
Number
put
3.
Punisher at 3.
Jessica Jones 1, Daredevil 2.
I'd
Punisher
flip
3.
my first 2.
Yeah, I think I'm the same with you.
Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Punisher, Iron Fist, Luke Cage.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's the same.
And I really liked Iron Fist, but the Punisher story was a lot better than the Iron Fist
Yeah.
story.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Yeah.
It kicked into gear a lot quicker.
It sure did.
Yeah, Iron Fist was weak, just not as weak as Luke Cage.
And John Bernthal's interpretation, and I don't know if this is Finn's fault or the writer's fault on Iron Fist, because I really do think they rushed that one.
Yep.
Danny was just too whiny.
He was
Yeah.
a little
Yes.
whiny.
They're trying to get across his naivety.
It's
And
just
made him
sad,
stupid
'cause
instead.
Iron
Yeah,
Fist
yeah, that's how
is-
it came off.
He came off as
I-
stupid rather than naive.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really hope that in that second season that he's learned a lot and we get to see more of really the cool stuff that Iron Fist can do because they didn't even touch the surface
Yeah.
with that either.
Right, and I even kind of was like, well, let's wait and see.
Iron
He's
Fist
like
is
Luke
cool,
Skywalker
people.
in Star Wars. He's just going to get his Tashi converters, but then he was kind of whiny in the Defenders too. So I was like, well,
Yeah,
He needed-
Actually, he was
he
whinier
needed
in
Luke
Defenders,
Cage.
in my opinion.
I know.
But some of the funniest parts of Defenders is him being kind of like that, and Luke Cage is kind of like putting him in his place. And
their
since we know they're
interactions were
both,
great.
we know that they're
Well, they're
both
gonna
in
be
Luke Cage
besties.
season 2,
Yeah.
that Luke's going to help Danny grow more.
Yeah. That okay.
In what? It's season 2 of what?
Luke Cage.
Yeah,
So
They're
Danny's-
gonna
Danny's
start-
a-
they're gonna
Danny's one of the
start
supporting
crossing over
cast,
more,
so
right?
he's going to be a bigger part. Yes.
all of the main characters are going to start crossing over more. There's
Yay.
a high expectation that both Iron Fist and Luke Cage will feature both Iron Fist and Luke Cage.
And they were better when they were together
Yes.
than when they were apart.
Yes.
Agreed.
I wonder if that'll be the last season of those shows.
And
until
then
they
do
become-
Heroes for Hire. I hope so. Well, I mean, it would match the comics perfect because Luke Cage, the comic, only lasted a couple years. Iron Fist only lasted a couple years. The characters bombed, people lost interest, and then they came up with Heroes for Hire. They put them together, and then the comics sold like crazy. And that's how those characters work for me. And
They're the consummate superhero odd couple.
yes,
Yes.
That's what they are. They're Oscar and Felix.
Which one's which?
I'd probably say that Iron Fist is Oscar.
Yeah,
can't believe
I'd
you
agree with
did
that.
Felix. I can make those connections all day long. What you want? Okay.
That was it.
Okay. Does watching any of the Marvel movies help appreciate Punisher more?
Nope.
No.
I don't
I think it
know.
exists almost completely separate aside from the little pictures in Karen's
Well, it's
office.
just so much darker than any of the movies are.
Those
And
were
we
a
know for
different
sure
time.
that the Defenders are not in Infinity War now, right?
I
That's
thought
for
Daredevil
sure.
was.
they've been teasing that, and even Charlie Cox says that his contract had in it that he has to be in any movie they say. And he's like, Marvel put that in for a reason, but I'm not going to elaborate.
Oh, okay.
So he keeps teasing that. But if it is, it probably won't be the first one. It'll probably be the second half of Infinity War.
So they're going back to two halves?
It is, yeah. They
It
finished
was
filming
always
the second
going
half.
to be
Yeah.
halves because
I'm very
I think you're thinking of Justice
That's a
League
big
where they
story, dude.
Justice League tried to copy them and film it into 2. They filmed it and then they discarded the entire second movie.
Oh, maybe I'm
Avengers
confusing them
is
with
going to be
Justice
2
League.
movies.
Yeah, but it's
Avengers-
not. It's just
yeah.
not Infinity War 1 and 2. It's Avengers Infinity War, and
And
then
then
it's another
there's going to be
title.
another title, yeah.
Yeah.
It's getting
Oh, okay.
complicated.
Disney
But they
needs
did
more money.
say that there's going to be like 100 and some Marvel characters between the 2 movies. So the only way I can imagine that math working out is if they included them in some capacity.
They'd have to, right? Well, that'd be cool. I'm all
It
for it.
doesn't sound like they'll be.
That's where Captain America
Integral.
says to Daredevil, "Go get my coffee."
I was going to, I'm like, wait.
I mean, if you follow the
Well, but it does. It feels like they treat them as an inferior product, and
They
they're
do.
not.
They're not, especially, I mean,
I like. This is probably
I don't know if I feel
controversial,
that
but
way.
I like them better than
So do
So do I.
I mean, and in the Marvel universe, they've ranked the fighters. Daredevil is the top martial artist. He can beat Captain America, even though Cap has heightened strength because of his
Steroids.
senses and his training all his life. He is the top
This also
fighter.
is a deja vu conversation. Are you trying to get the blood boiling over here
I
too?
can smell it boiling.
But
So
yeah.
we've got the Daredevil season 1 thing. We've got Captain America over here. Anything else we want to cover?
But I'm just saying, like Daredevil, Luke Cage, like they are Avengers. They are top tier in the comic books, and so to constantly kind of hold them back like they're inferior does the characters a
Cage is an
disservice.
Avenger?
Yes,
Well,
one of the longest running
He's
Avengers.
basically invincible.
He's quite
Yeah,
powerful.
And the older
It's
he
not
gets,
his fault the
his
story
strength goes
floundered.
up. That's why in Jessica Jones you only see the skin thing, and then
It continues
and then Luke
to
Cage you see he can
crescendo.
lift heavy things like Jessica, but that follows his trajectory in the comics. He starts out with one thing, but his powers are kind of evolving.
Well, they didn't think powers had anything to do whether or not you're in the Avengers. I mean, Hawkeye's there. I don't know what he does.
He shoots things with a bow and arrow.
He's Green Arrow.
He's Green Arrow for the Marvel Universe.
Yep.
Or Green Arrow is Hawkeye for the DC.
No,
Whatever you
other way
wanna
around.
say.
Green Arrow came first.
Okay.
Too bad DC just can't put out a
I
whole
know.
lot of good things on screen, so
I know.
Except for
bothers
some
me immensely.
stuff on the TV.
Yeah.
some, a little bit.
Good universes,
That is
separate universes.
another podcast we do, which all of
very
you are a
similar
part of. It's the same panel, folks. Just even though they're talking things.
Just throwing it out there.
But it would be very unfortunate,
Yeah.
I think, if we didn't
You have to
see
compare.
at some point. Because, I
Thank
mean, you have Spider-Man swinging around New York. Like, his interactions with Matt and
Are
Luke,
super
he's
important.
just as important to them as Jessica Jones and Luke
Correct.
Cage and Iron Fist.
I
Like,
feel
he's
like
part
it'd
of the
be
New
easy
York
to throw
circle.
Spider-Man in the Netflix show as just a one episode here or there. You can just have someone do a
Spider-Man's
voiceover to
extremely
CG.
important. To
I
it.
would love that, but
Well, now that they've
The
started
contract
merging the
with that
universe
is
back
so
together, it's going to be
complicated.
possible.
Yeah.
It wasn't possible for a long time, but now that Sony's given those rights,
Yeah, Disney owns all of it.
Yeah.
Disney does officially own all.
So it doesn't.
of
They
it.
can do whatever they
Disney
want.
does not own those rights to Spider-Man or the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah.
Oh yeah, not Hulk. That's true.
That's with Universal, and Spider-Man is still with Sony for the time being.
Technically. But they have a
how they
thing
can
where
keep
Marvel
the
gets
rights.
all approval,
Yes.
but Sony still owns technically.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's a gray.
Yeah.
But Sony's,
It's a partnership.
Sony will let Marvel use
I was gonna
Spider-Man
say,
'cause
so-
it makes them
I was
Yeah,
gonna
because
say
they're
they're
rules
gonna
are
let
fine.
them do whatever
Yep.
they want with Spider-Man.
Yeah, just like with
Spider-Man's like one
Yeah.
of the most
same
popular
as
characters ever written.
Disney buying Fox movies. That
Right.
means they now get
The
the
X-Men.
rights to most of the X-Men. So
And
the
yeah,
universe is
cool.
reunifying,
Crazy.
and Stan Lee's making more money.
Aw, Uncle Stan. Are you going to keep watching The Punisher
Yeah.
Yes.
because you have to, or
Nope.
because you want
Because
Because
to?
I
Want.
want to.
both. I may as well be honest, right? Both.
Want.
Okay.
She looked
I'm the
at me.
black sheep of this panel. That's fine.
Well, it's okay.
It's fine. I'm comfortable with my position.
Good. I also want to, mainly because of this talk of things that could happen, like Kingpin and
Raising
all
the stakes.
Yeah, all the stuff that could come connected to him. That would be really awesome, and I'm for it. Would you recommend The Punisher to others? Why or why not?
Yes, but unless they like really can't handle like.
Yeah, if you can't handle blood and guts,
Yeah,
don't. but-
because like I have friends who literally can't handle like
And I-
even some very mild things. So if you if you want to learn more about the universe and the characters,
So I'm a
involved
really
with them.
good barometer for this. I'm easily squeamish. I closed my eyes no less than a dozen times, usually at the parts when Frank was getting particularly bloody.
Almost once an episode.
No, not, when it was happening to him as opposed
Yeah, it was
to
rougher.
him to
Yeah.
others.
Well, you have more
It was
involvement
nice.
in him.
Random unnamed henchmen. You
Yeah.
could deal with that, but when Frank was getting beat up, it was a harder thing.
Well, only because when they were going after Frank, they were going after
And they wanted
Frank.
you to kind of feel it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, in saying that though, when Frank was smashing Billy's face repeatedly into the mirror, you could handle that.
I
Yeah.
loved
Peeling
that.
off.
I loved that.
Well, it was gross, but I also thought maybe because of the poetic justice in it, I was able to say
Go, one more hit. Go,
disassociate.
do it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of urging it on. Yes, do it. Yeah, basically. The mirror thing was really cool. That was well shot.
Yes, it was
yeah,
beautiful.
I just love him throwing his
So-
face into that mirror.
I will say,
it's
I
awesome.
watched
too.
the fragments in
Yes.
the
Yeah.
reflection. It
It was
was
clever.
really
Yeah, it was
awesome.
awesome.
when I recommend this, I definitely say, though, you can't watch it without season 2 of Daredevil.
Yeah.
Because they don't explain anything about Frank being in a coma, how he starts off, and, pretty
And
much
that
him
montage,
climbing those ladders.
You can't just pick up.
But then I think you have to watch season 1 of Daredevil as well.
You'd have
Just
to.
watch the whole universe.
You should really just
Yeah.
watch them in order.
Yeah, that works best.
I wasn't even trying to make a
Okay.
slam.
No,
you
no,
really
you
should.
do.
Yeah,
you
but
should
you're
just
right,
watch it in
because
order.
You need to watch
you have
it
to
in
watch
order.
season 2 to understand
You have
Punisher,
to.
but in order to understand season 2 of Daredevil, you have to
Watch
watch
season
1.
1 of Daredevil. So
Yes.
at the minimum, that's what you have to watch.
Might as well watch
Ideally,
Jessica
it's everything.
Jones, because there are some squeamish bits there, and if you can't get through that, then you're not going to get through
That's a good point.
Yeah, different kind of squeamish, though.
Yeah, I
It
could
is, but
watch
it
all
gets-
that.
Even when people were cutting their own arms off?
Yep.
Put your hand in the blender.
Yeah.
It was gross. Again, it was gross, but I think because Kilgrave is
Best
because
villain ever.
Kilgrave was
I
probably the scarier part of it. I didn't actually notice the blood as much.
Yeah.
So-
Again, leave it to David Tennant.
yeah.
Once again, you're making the David Tennant face when we're talking about rapey Kilgrave.
Anyway, I would
Sorry.
say
There's some
that
attractive people in these Defender shows.
it's true.
Throwing that out there.
I would agree that I would recommend it on condition. I would agree that I would recommend it on condition that you be very prepared. I don't think you need to have watched Luke Cage or to have watched necessarily Iron Fist before watching this.
No.
However, really the most enriching experience is to watch all of the seasons of all
Yeah.
of the shows, because that's what Netflix is trying to do. And the whole purpose of it is that once they set their solo seasons up and give you all the foundation of the characters, we're probably going to see more interweaving of
It's
the
still
characters.
worth it. I still think it's
Yeah.
worth it.
I do too. Even Luke Cage, I think he'll get better. I honestly do.
I think
There's no
Defenders
place for them to
gave me a
go
lot of
but
hope
up at
for
this
that.
point with Luke Cage.
I mean, some people, again, I keep saying that,
Yes.
but some people legitimately
It's some people's
really like it.
favorite.
Yeah.
I've met these
So
people.
we can't, I mean, yes, this is our conversation
Simpletons.
about it, but gosh, Spencer, stop alienating the audience. I'm just saying.
I'm an equal opportunity offender.
I'm
Like
just,
South Park.
but yeah. I mean, everyone's different. People have different thoughts, so maybe really
People
love it.
do have different thoughts.
That's true.
What?
Speaking of different thoughts, is
Question
there
mark.
anything else you want to say about The Punisher Season 1, or maybe what you hope to see in The Punisher Season 2?
No, I think we covered it pretty
Yeah.
good.
Good.
Excellently
Right.
found lost episode, folks. And having said that, what I'd like to do at this time is thank Nick, Spencer, Kyle, Kristen, and Hilary for joining me in this discovered episode where we talk about The Punisher Season 1. And now I say this. CPU was produced by Backpocket Productions, run by yours truly, the Chief Couch Potato, and hails from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, if you like what you hear, take the time to rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play. Give us stars, comments, reviews. Let us know how we're doing, please. What you like, what you don't like, what we should keep, what we shouldn't keep, things. If you have suggestions on shows we might consider, contact us at our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, via email at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com, or via Facebook and Twitter, though of course we add new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler all the time. We really do. It's coming. We have several more new episodes. As always, if you miss old episodes or want to know in general what we cover, we're everywhere. Just look for us. You can find us at the top of Google searches under our name now. I think that's an achievement. Subscribe to our website, our channels, our social media. Stay up on new events and episodes. Now, until the next time the Marvel's Defenders panel meets, The Punisher is available on Netflix because that is the network that made it and the network that should pay us for continually saying their name. Our Marvel's Defenders series panel will next reconvene, shortly probably, to discuss Season 2 of Jessica Jones, which will be released to Netflix March 8th, 2018. So until next time, until next episode, new episodes published every Wednesday. Keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned.
Goodbye.
Bye.